Hey guys, and before I start reading this story, I just want to say that this story covers some dark topics, and if you don't want to get depressed, then don't watch this video. But if you want to continue, just be prepared for the feels. When it's all over, Gladion turns to you and says, "You know, I'm really glad I met you." Like he's surprised, before he turns and walks away. You don't see him again for another 2 years. After you finish your island challenge, you spend your time traveling between the islands, catching every different kind of Pokemon you encounter and filling your Pokedex. You go home for a visit about once every week, because Mom would kill you if you didn't, but there isn't much to do on Melee Island anymore. Not since you caught every Pokemon native to Melee about 2 years ago. You didn't really notice until you run into Hao about 2 months after finishing your island challenge. You're lonely. You didn't think it was possible, not with all your Pokemon to keep you company, but you've missed traveling with him, completing your challenge with him. He was your best friend, aside from Lily, and you haven't seen him in 2 months. Granted, you haven't seen Lily in that amount of time either, but at least she has an excuse. She's busy helping her mom recover from her episode of absolute crazy. "Hey!" Hao calls, running towards you. "Guess what?" "What?" you mouth back, because Hao is actually really good at lip reading. "I finished my island challenge!" Hao exclaims. "Oh, that certainly explains why you haven't seen him in so long." You clap your hands together and mouth, "Congratulations!" Hao folds his arms behind his back and grins. "Thanks," he says. "I just got back today, so you're the first person I've told." "You should tell Lily, too," you reminded him. "I'm sure she'd be happy to hear." Hal's whole face lights up at your suggestion, and he jumps up and down in excitement. "Oh man, yeah!" he shouts. "I haven't talked to Lily in forever! We should all meet him and have a party." You roll your eyes fondly and says, "Of course, it'll be a Melacida party, right?" "Heck yeah!" Hal says, pumping his fist in the air as he jumps. "Oh! We should invite Gladion, too!" You freeze for a second, eyes widening at the mention of Gladion. Thankfully, Hao doesn't seem to notice your reaction. He keeps rambling off names of people you should invite to the party. You nod along with him, but your mind is somewhere else. You haven't seen Gladion since the day he walked away from you. From your offer of your friendship. You aren't mad, because how could you be mad at him? He's so sad and miserable all the time, it's hard to even find a reason to be mad at him. But he still walked away from you, and you're upset about that. You care a lot about him. You want to see him happy. You know he has duties to the Aether Foundation, but you also know that won't make him happy. Traveling and battling with his Pokemon is what makes him happy. You know because you've seen the thrill and excitement in his eyes every time you battled him. That is what he loves. That probably explains why, 2 hours later, you and Hao are opening a video chat with Gladion to invite him to Hao's party. "Hey, Gladion!" Hao chirps, the second Gladion's familiar face appears on the screen. "What the fuck do you want?" Gladion says in his usual snappish tone. You force a smile on your face because hearing his voice makes you miss him more. But if you ever let on that you miss hanging out with him, it'll just force him further away. "I finished my island challenge," Hao tells him. "We're throwing a party to celebrate. You'll come, won't you? Lily already said she would, and it's been forever since all of us hang out." "I'm busy," Gladion snaps, but his eyes are soft, so you know he doesn't mean it. "Unless there was anything important you needed." Hao frowns. "You're always so busy," he pouts. "You should really take a rest and come hang out with us sometime." "I'm the head of the Aether Foundation, Hao, in case you've forgotten," Gladion says sharply. "I don't have time to hang out." And with that, he ends the call. "Rude," Hao says. You almost nodded alongside him. But with that, you think of the bangs under Gladion's eyes, the way his shoulders slumped. You wonder if he is getting enough sleep, if he's eating properly. Hao gently touches your shoulder and asks, "Are you alright?" Gladion looks unhealthy, you mouth in response. Hao's face darkens slightly. "You noticed that too, huh?" he says. "Yeah. I don't think he's sleeping enough." You frown down at your hands. Maybe if you paid a visit to the Aether Foundation and talked to Gladion in person, he would listen. But what would you say? How would you say it? It's not as if Gladion knows sign language, smart though he is. And why would he even listen to you? He made it quite clear at the last meeting that you're not friends. Well, it's not like we can do anything, Hal says, patting your back gently. We'll keep an eye on it. If it gets any worse, I guess only one of us can go talk to him. Probably you. You roll your eyes, but it's a good idea. Lily lives at the Aether Foundation with Gladion, taking care of their mother. Maybe she'll be willing to keep an eye on her brother for you. You don't go to Hal's party. The day of the party is like another day, except for the fact that you can't find the motivation to get out of bed. You lock yourself in your room and refuse to talk to anyone. Even when Lily comes over an hour after the party was supposed to have started and asks if you're alright, you refuse to let her in. You don't know what's wrong with you. You've never felt this way before, and you can't seem to break yourself out of your funk. You spend a lot of time either curled in bed, sleeping, or staring at the Swiss Army knife you've taken to carrying around in your pocket. You don't know why. Something in you is screaming, but you feel dead and emotionless. You ignore the voice in your head that says pain is what you need to feel alive again, and roll over to go to bed. The next day, you pack your bag and leave before your mom gets up. You don't know where you're going, but you want to find more Pokemon battles. Maybe the thrill of battling will ease your inner pain for a while. The next year and a half passes slowly. Every day is a struggle to even get out of bed in the morning, but somehow you force yourself to do it. You ignore text messages from your friends and mom, and spend every day looking for more battles to fight. Scars start popping up on your wrist from days without battling, but you hide them with arm warmers and ignore the looks you get. You stop visiting home from getting in a fight with your mom over traveling, and just spend your nights in roadside motel rooms. Some nights, when you can't sleep, you go out Pokemon hunting, even though you've already filled your Pokedex with all the Pokemon you can find in the Alola region. Anything to keep your mind off of the growing depression inside of you. You think about Gladion sometimes, wondering if he's okay, but you never let your thoughts focus on him for too long. It hurts to think about him, and you don't know why. One day, you answer a video chat from Lily without thinking. Why haven't you been answering anyone's questions? Lily shrieks as soon as you pick up. Do you know how worried we've all been? Brother is looking out for you because no one knows where you are. You hang up, without waiting for her to say any more. Lily calls back twice, but you ignore it both times. Gladion is looking for you. You don't know why, but that makes you inexplicably sad. He's taking time out of work to search for your worthless ass. You don't even want him to find you. That night, you down half a bottle of sleeping pills and flop on the bed in your motel room to cry yourself to sleep. Everything is fuzzy and white, and you feel wonderful for the first time in years. You're floating away on a bed of clouds, and none of the depression that had been weighing you down for the past 2 years can touch you. Suddenly, someone is shaking you and calling your name. You think you see Gladion's bleary face swimming in your vision for a second before it fades away. You're being hauled upright and dragged away from your comfortable bed of clouds, and you try to protest, but your throat feels clogged with cotton. You panic for a second because you can't breathe and everything hurts and you just want it to stop. No one told you dying would be this painful. 2 fingers are suddenly shoved down your throat, and then you throw up everything in your stomach, and it's awful. When your throat clears, your vision is still a little fuzzy, but now you can see Gladion's face hovering near you, a worried expression on his features. You feel bad for worrying him. You never meant to hurt anyone. You were just in so much pain that you wanted it to stop. You don't think anyone would find you until you were dead. For a moment, you regret that Gladion was the one to find you. Then you slip into darkness. The next time you wake up, it's sometime in the afternoon. Gladion is sitting next to you on the bed reading a book. He sets it down when he notices you stirring. Are you alright? He asks gently. You're so thrown by the tone of his voice that you don't register what he said at first. When your brain finally catches up and realizes what he said, you wince because how are you supposed to tell him that you're fine physically but you're dying inside? I learned sign language, Gladion says quietly, catching their attention. You can just sign whatever it is you want to say. Your brain short circuits again at that because Gladion learned sign language? Why? It's not as though anyone he actually cares about is deaf or mute, so what purpose would he have for learning it? Unless he learned it for you. But that doesn't make sense. Why would he learn it for you? Why would you learn sign language? Gladion sighs and says, Because of you, idiot. I can't read lips, and it's too much of a hassle to wait for you to write everything out every time or have you communicate through someone else. I want to be able to talk to you. But we're not friends. I was lying to myself. Gladion snorts with no amusement. You were always my friend. You stare at him, because you never thought you had heard those words coming out of his mouth. And suddenly, you know why you felt so miserable every time you thought of him. You weren't in love with him. Isn't that a funny thought? To have fallen in love with a person who claimed you as a rival. You snort involuntarily at the thought. What? Gladion snaps, staring at you. Sorry, it wasn't anything you said. I thought of something funny just now. Gladion watches you suspiciously for a moment before asking, Are you alright? Again. This time you nod, because it's true. You're still depressed and you don't want to move from the spot for a very long time. But you don't feel like you're dying inside anymore. It's like a heavy weight has been lifted from your chest for the first time in 2 years. You feel like you're going to be okay. I hope you all enjoyed.